Most people will never come close to understanding what it actually takes. Not the movies, not the video games, not the documentaries. Nothing you've ever seen has truly captured what these men go through, what they endure, what they sacrifice, and what they become on the other side of it. And the few who do make it through, they don't talk about it much. Because the ones who survived hell don't need to convince anyone they've been there. What you're about to hear is real, and some of it is going to be very hard to believe. The United States Navy SEALs are widely considered the most elite special operations force on the planet. Sea, air, land. The name itself tells you everything. These are men who are expected to operate flawlessly in any environment, under any conditions, against any threat. They parachute from altitudes where the air is too thin to breathe. They swim through freezing, pitch-black ocean water for hours. They move through jungles, deserts, mountain ranges, and urban combat zones, sometimes all in a single deployment. And through every second of it, they are expected to think clearly, execute precisely, and never, not once, fall apart. But before any of that is possible, they have to survive something that most human beings physically cannot endure. Something designed not just to test their limits, but to destroy them and see what's left standing. It starts with an application process that already eliminates the vast majority of candidates before training even begins. To be considered for BUD/S, Basic Underwater Demolition/SEAL Training, a candidate must meet physical standards that would embarrass most professional athletes. We're talking about a 500-yard swim in under 12.5 minutes, over 40 push-ups in under 2 minutes, over 50 sit-ups in under 2 minutes, more than 10 pull-ups, and a 1.5-mile run in boots and long pants in under 11 minutes and 30 seconds. And those are just the minimums. The candidates who actually make it through training tend to blow those numbers out of the water. Some arrive able to do 100 push-ups without stopping. Some run a sub-6-minute mile pace for distances most people can't sprint. And still, most of them will fail. The dropout rate at BUD/S is staggering. Depending on the class, anywhere from 70 to 85% of candidates will quit or be medically rolled back before they ever earn a trident. Let that settle in for a moment. You can be one of the most physically prepared human beings on the planet, fight through the selection process, make it all the way to training, and still almost certainly fail. Because what BUD/S tests isn't really physical fitness. Physical fitness is just the price of admission. What they're really testing is something far harder to measure. Something that has no weight class, no timer, no visible finish line. They call it mental toughness, but that phrase doesn't quite do it justice. It's more like the ability to keep functioning, keep thinking, keep moving, keep performing, when every cell in your body is screaming at you to stop. When you haven't slept in 36 hours. When you're so cold your hands have stopped working properly. When the instructors are in your face telling you that you're nothing, that you'll never make it, that the brass bell is right there, and all you have to do is ring it, and this will all be over. The brass bell, that's the symbol of quitting at BUD/S. It sits at the compound, and every candidate knows exactly where it is. When you ring it, you're done. You walk away. And instructors don't just passively let it exist. They actively remind candidates that it's there, that the choice is always available, that nobody is forcing them to stay, that the suffering is optional. And this is intentional, because that's precisely the kind of pressure they'll face in combat. The constant whisper that there's an easier way out, that the mission isn't worth it, that one more step forward is one too many. The men who become SEALs learn to silence that whisper completely. Hell Week is where most of those men discover whether they actually can. Hell Week happens in the first phase of BUD/S, and the name is not an exaggeration. It is approximately 5.5 days, roughly 130 hours, of continuous training with a total of maybe 4 hours of sleep across the entire duration. Candidates run over 200 miles during that week. They carry telephone poles, rubber boats, and each other. They do surf passages in the Pacific Ocean in water temperatures that can hover in the 50s, wearing nothing but a t-shirt, shorts, and a thin wetsuit that stops doing much after the first hour. They are cold for so long that being cold becomes their default state. There is no warm-up. There is no break long enough to recover. There is only the next evolution, and the next one after that, and the one after that. Instructors monitor candidates constantly for signs of hypothermia. Medical staff are always nearby. This isn't theater. People have died in extreme military training environments, and the Navy takes it seriously. But within those safety limits, the suffering is real, intentional, and relentless. Because they are not trying to train your body. Your body was already screened extensively before you got here. They are trying to find out what happens to your mind when your body has nothing left. And this is where things get even more extreme. Most people, when pushed to their physical limits, begin to mentally deteriorate. Decision-making becomes poor. Emotional regulation collapses. Logic gets replaced by raw impulse. Sleep-deprived people in cold, stressful environments start making dangerous mistakes. Mistakes that in combat would get people killed. What SEAL training does, through years of research and refinement, is deliberately expose candidates to this deterioration over and over again, and then expect them to perform anyway. The psychological insight behind BUD/S is that the mind, like the body, adapts when stressed within survivable limits. If you can teach a person to make good decisions while hallucinating from sleep deprivation, while shivering so hard they can barely speak, while their swim buddy is suffering beside them and asking them to quit, then you have built something extraordinary. You have built a person who is functionally dangerous when other people would be functionally useless. SEALs have described seeing things during Hell Week. Visual hallucinations brought on by sleep deprivation. One well-documented account describes a candidate who was convinced he saw a train running through the middle of the BUD/S compound. Another saw giant spiders in the surf. And still they kept going. Still they performed. Still they completed the evolutions and refused the bell. That is what this training is engineering. Not just tough men, tough minds. What's fascinating and often overlooked is the role of the team in all of this. Navy SEALs don't train as individuals. They train as boat crews, small groups of 6 or 7 men who share everything during BUD/S. If your boat crew loses a race, your boat crew does extra push-ups. If one man falls behind on a run, the boat crew goes back for him. If someone is hypothermic and can barely function, the others wrap around him in the water to share body heat. Because that is exactly what will be required of them later. The bond forged during BUD/S and the subsequent training pipeline is unlike almost any relationship civilian life can produce. These men have seen each other at absolute rock bottom, shaking, hallucinating, weeping, failing, and they stayed. They held each other up. They dragged each other forward. And that creates a level of trust that most people will never understand, because most people have never needed to trust anyone with their life at 2 in the morning in 38-degree water. Brotherhood in the teams isn't a concept. It's a survival mechanism that was hammered into existence through shared suffering. But let's talk about what happens after Hell Week. Because a lot of people think that surviving Hell Week means you're basically a SEAL. You are nowhere close. BUD/S alone is 6 months. Phase 1 covers physical conditioning and culminates in Hell Week. Phase 2 is combat diving, an entirely different universe of pain. In Phase 2, candidates learn to operate underwater using closed-circuit rebreathers, which leave no bubble trail on the surface. They perform underwater navigation, long-distance dives, and combat swimmer attacks, all in open ocean, often at night. And the instructors conduct something called pool competency tests, underwater harassment scenarios where instructors remove a candidate's breathing apparatus, tie their gear in knots, and simulate real panic situations while the candidate is underwater. The only way to pass is to calmly untangle everything, restore your air supply, and signal that you're fine. While underwater, while someone is actively trying to make you panic, people fail pool comp and wash out of BUD/S without ever having made it to Hell Week. Others survive Hell Week and get medically dropped in Phase 2 from ear barotrauma or lung overexpansion injuries. Every phase has its own way of finding your limit. Phase 3 is land warfare. Demolitions, weapons, small unit tactics, navigation, and direct action operations. And still, people wash out here. People who made it through Hell Week. People who passed pool comp. Because the standard never drops, it evolves. Then comes SQT, SEAL Qualification Training, which adds another 6 months of advanced weapons, tactics, communications, and a grueling desert survival course. By the time a man earns the Trident, the gold pin that marks him as a Navy SEAL, he has spent somewhere between 18 months and 2+ years in the training pipeline. And that's before his first deployment. The total cost to train a single Navy SEAL from enlistment through SQT is estimated at around $500,000. Some estimates go higher, and given what a SEAL can do, that number is almost certainly a bargain. Now let's talk about what they can actually do. Because the capabilities of a trained SEAL team are genuinely difficult to comprehend until you break them down one by one. SEALs are qualified in a staggering array of weapons systems. Not just proficient, expert-level familiar with everything from handguns and rifles to machine guns, sniper systems, grenade launchers, and anti-tank weapons. During deployment, individual SEALs might fire tens of thousands of rounds to maintain the kind of accuracy their missions require. Their weapons handling is so deeply ingrained through repetition that it becomes reflexive. They can clear a malfunction, transition between weapons, and re-engage a target faster than most trained soldiers can even register what happened. They are also trained combat divers, military freefall parachutists, and small boat operators. They can ha-ho jump, high altitude, high opening, deploying their parachutes at extreme altitude and gliding for dozens of miles under canopy to arrive at a target silently, without ever appearing on a radar screen. They can halo jump, high altitude, low opening, dropping from the edge of the stratosphere in free fall before deploying at low altitude, arriving with almost no warning whatsoever. They can conduct underwater swimmer attacks against ships, port facilities, or coastal infrastructure. They can move through open ocean for miles, surface near a target, complete a mission, and disappear back into the water as if they were never there. This is what sea, air, land actually means in practice. Not just a name, a complete operational doctrine. Their medical training is equally remarkable. Every SEAL operator goes through a combat medicine curriculum that would give most civilians pause. They are trained to perform field surgical procedures, administer blood transfusions, manage traumatic brain injuries, treat tension pneumothorax, a life-threatening collapsed lung condition, in the field, and keep a critically wounded teammate or hostage alive long enough to reach surgical care. SEAL medics, the Special Operations Combat Medics, or 18DS in the Army parallel, though SEAL medics have their own track, undergo training so extensive that they are legally authorized to perform procedures in combat environments that civilian paramedics cannot perform in hospital parking lots. Because when you operate in the places SEALs operate, there is no calling for help. There is no 911. There is no waiting for the ambulance. You are the ambulance. Let's talk about some of the missions that have shaped how the world understands what SEALs can do. Because the public record, despite how heavily classified most SEAL operations are, contains enough to be genuinely breathtaking. Operation Neptune Spear, May 2, 2011. Two Black Hawk helicopters carrying members of SEAL Team 6, officially known as the Naval Special Warfare Development Group, or DEVGRU, flew at low altitude into Pakistani airspace on a moonless night to conduct a raid on a compound in Abbottabad. Their target was Osama bin Laden, the founder of Al-Qaeda and the most wanted man in the world. One of the helicopters experienced an aerodynamic issue and crashed into the compound wall during insertion. The operators on board, instead of calling for abort, instead of waiting for clarity, immediately adapted, secured the helicopter, breached the compound, and continued the mission. The entire raid lasted approximately 38 minutes. Bin Laden was killed. All operators returned home. 38 minutes. Nearly a decade of intelligence work. The most significant counterterrorism target in American history, and a team that literally crashed a helicopter on the way in and didn't miss a step. That is not normal. That is not something you can fake or improvise. That is the product of training so thorough, so repetitive, so merciless in its standards that when everything goes wrong, the operators don't think, they act, because the right action has been rehearsed thousands of times until it is simply what the body does. And then there is Operation Red Wings. June 2005. 4 SEALs, Marcus Luttrell, Michael Murphy, Matthew Axelson, and Danny Dietz, were conducting a reconnaissance mission in the Kunar province of Afghanistan when they were discovered by local shepherds. Faced with an impossible decision, release the shepherds and risk compromise, or eliminate the threat, they chose to let them go. Shortly after, they were ambushed by a large force of Taliban fighters on a remote mountainside. In the firefight that followed, Murphy, Axelson, and Dietz were killed. A rescue helicopter carrying 8 SEALs and 8 Army Night Stalkers was shot down, killing all aboard. It was the single largest loss of life in SEAL team history. Luttrell, shot multiple times, fell down the mountain and survived for 4 days before being sheltered by local Afghan villagers who protected him until rescue arrived. The men who died that day didn't quit. Not one of them. They fought until they couldn't fight anymore. And the stories that came out of that mission, of Michael Murphy deliberately stepping into the open to get a cell signal so he could call for help, knowing full well he would be shot, speak to something that transcends training. Something that is the result of training, but also something deeper. The willingness to die for the man beside you. Not the mission, the man. There is a misconception worth addressing. The popular image of a Navy SEAL is a massive, mountain-like human being with a neck the size of a tree trunk. And while SEALs are undeniably fit, the reality is often surprising. The average SEAL is not built like a bodybuilder. In fact, extreme bulk is often a liability. What the selection process consistently produces are men who are lean, powerful, and efficient. Athletes whose bodies are optimized for endurance, load-bearing, and sustained output rather than raw size. Former SEALs have described being surprised by how ordinary some of the most legendary operators looked in civilian clothes. Not particularly tall, not visibly massive, just regular-looking men who happened to be capable of things that would seem impossible if you didn't know their history. This is by design. A SEAL has to be able to move fast and quietly over great distances. He has to fit into a wetsuit and spend 6 hours in cold water. He has to halo jump at altitude and not freeze to death. He has to blend into a crowd in a foreign city when the mission requires it. Extreme muscle mass is a hindrance, not an advantage, in most of these scenarios. What matters is the engine hidden underneath. Sleep deprivation, it turns out, is one of the most consistent features of a deployed SEAL's life, not just during training. Operational tempos during the height of the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan were staggering. Some SEAL task forces were running multiple raids per night. A team might hit 4 or 5 separate targets between midnight and dawn, return to the forward operating base, conduct debrief, plan the next operation, and be back in the air before sunset. For months at a time. The cognitive demands of sustained combat operations, target identification, rules of engagement, threat discrimination, casualty management, radio communications, navigating in the dark through unknown terrain while actively being shot at, are immense even after a full night's sleep. After weeks of 2 and 3 hours per night, they become almost unimaginable. And still the standard holds. What about the gear? Because the equipment a SEAL carries and operates is another layer of complexity worth understanding. A full combat load for a SEAL operator in a direct action environment can exceed 100 pounds. Weapons, ammunition, body armor with ceramic plates, night vision devices, radio equipment, medical kit, water, navigation tools, breaching equipment, restraints, the list goes on. Night vision alone is a technology that changes the entire nature of combat. Modern SEALs operate extensively under night vision, which means they've trained for thousands of hours in near-total darkness. They fight in a world that their enemies literally cannot see. There's an old phrase that circulated during the Iraq and Afghanistan campaigns: "We own the night." It wasn't arrogance. It was a description of a technological and training advantage that fundamentally changed the lethality of small special operations units. Their communications gear allows them to coordinate air support, direct drones, communicate simultaneously with multiple ground elements, and maintain contact with commanders across the other side of the world, all while running through a hostile building in the dark and making split-second lethal decisions. The mental bandwidth required to manage all of that simultaneously is extraordinary. Perhaps the most underappreciated aspect of SEAL culture is how deeply they value intelligence. Not just battlefield intelligence, though that matters enormously, but intellectual curiosity, adaptability, and the ability to learn new skills rapidly. The myth of the dumb brute who succeeds on muscle alone has no place in the teams. SEALs are expected to learn foreign languages, understand the cultural and political dynamics of the regions they operate in, develop relationships with local partner forces, and conduct missions that require political awareness as much as tactical precision. Many have advanced degrees. Many pursue education aggressively throughout their careers. Because the environments they operate in are complex, and complex environments require complex thinkers. There is a reason why. When SEAL operators leave the military, they tend to succeed in business, technology, medicine, law, and academia at rates that far exceed the general population. The skills that make someone a successful SEAL: disciplined focus, extreme stress tolerance, rapid learning, team orientation, and an absolute refusal to accept failure, transfer with devastating effectiveness to civilian life. But let's not romanticize without acknowledging the cost, because the cost is real and it is heavy. The divorce rate among Special Operations Forces is significantly higher than the general population. The psychological toll of multiple deployments, of seeing things and doing things that cannot be explained at a dinner table, of returning home and being expected to immediately function as a normal person in a normal world, is enormous. PTSD rates among combat veterans are well documented and do not skip Special Operations Forces simply because those forces are better trained. In some ways, the very qualities that make SEALs exceptional in combat, the ability to suppress emotion in order to function, the ability to compartmentalize horror in order to continue the mission, create complications when those same men try to reconnect with their families, their emotions, and their civilian identity. The brotherhood of the teams extends through this too. There is a culture of taking care of each other that runs deep. But the wounds are real. The sacrifices are real. The Gold Star families, the parents, spouses, and children of the fallen, carry a weight that no training prepares anyone for. What remains, after all of it, after the broken bones and the sleepless weeks and the missions no one will ever know about and the funerals and the long flights home, is something that is genuinely difficult to articulate. It is a standard, an internal standard that a SEAL sets for himself and holds himself to regardless of whether anyone is watching. Not because of what it will earn him, but because of what it means to violate it. Because identity has been fused, through years of suffering and brotherhood and choice, with excellence. Because quitting isn't just a tactical failure. It is a betrayal of everyone who stood beside you when they could have quit and didn't. Former SEALs talk about this phenomenon often. About how the Trident isn't a destination, it's a beginning. About how the training doesn't make you invincible. It makes you aware of exactly how much more you're capable of than you ever thought. About how the hardest battle they ever fought wasn't on any mountainside or in any city street. It was the internal one, the daily one, the one where you decide, again, today, to be the person that training built. There are approximately 2,500 active duty Navy SEALs at any given time. In a country of 330 million people, that is a vanishingly small number. A fraction of a fraction. The equivalent of filling about a third of a single NBA arena. And those 2,500 men stand watch over a world that mostly has no idea they exist. They train in the dark. They move in the dark. They operate in places and in ways that will never be publicly discussed, executing missions that will never appear in a news report, protecting people who will never know they were in danger. And when the work is done, they disappear again. No credit, no applause, no public acknowledgement, just the standard, and the quiet, unbreakable knowledge of what they are capable of. The rest of us sleep peacefully because somewhere in the dark, they don't.